The removal of the rear spring strut is the same for both the coupe and the Cabriolet on the lower connections on the wheel carrier. This video will show you how to perform the upper work on a coupe. On the cab, you will need to remove the top into the service position and remove the trim panel for the convertible top rest. Begin by safely raising and supporting the vehicle and remove the rear wheels. You're going to need to move the sway bar, red arrow, out of the way by removing the drop link, green arrow, from the wheel carrier, blue arrow. Use a T40 Torx in the tapered end of the bolt to stop it from spinning, and using a 16mm wrench, remove the drop link from the wheel carrier. Use a 13mm socket and remove the two mounting bolts holding the sway bar to the subframe, and remove the sway bar. Next, use a floor jack to support the ball joint end of the toe arm, and use a 16mm wrench to loosen the nut on the ball joint. If the ball joint spins, use a T40 Torx to hold the bolt in place while you remove the nut, red arrow. Use a ball joint separator and remove the ball joint. Use a 16mm and 18mm wrench and remove the bolt holding the shock to the wheel carrier, red arrow. Now move into the interior of the vehicle. Our vehicle had the Bose sound box and required the removal of it, red arrow. You're going to start by working on the seat back locks, blue arrow. Use a 6mm Allen and remove the single bolt and then the post and trim piece, red arrow. Use a trim removal tool and gently pry the Bose cover plate off. Remove the single T25 Torx screw holding the sound box to the mount on each side, red arrow. Slide the sound box forward and turn it upside down and disconnect the electrical connection by squeezing in the two tabs, red arrows, and separate it. Remove the foam and the carpet cover, red arrow. There are several small foam, insulation, and carpet pieces by the shock towers that you will need to also remove. Carefully remove the wiring connection and lift up on the tiny tab on the electrical connection, red arrow, and separate them. Using a 15mm deep socket, remove the three nuts, red arrows. Make sure the wiring will not catch on anything while removing the shock from below. Slide or pry the shock off the wheel carrier and lower it down from the top and remove it over the rear trailing arms. Note the position of the mount to the chassis, red arrows. Never hold or support the shock by the wiring connection. Installation is the reverse of removal. Never grease anything that has a dacromet finish. Torque the upper 15mm nuts to 46 Nm or 34 foot-pounds. Torque the strut to the wheel carrier hardware to 110 Nm or 81 foot-pounds. The control arm ball joint nut is torqued to 75 Nm or 56 foot-pounds. The sway bar bracket is torqued to 23 Nm or 17 foot-pounds, while the drop link to wheel carrier is a 3-stage torque. First torque to 50 Nm or 37 foot-pounds, then loosen 90 degrees, then torque again to 65 Nm or 48 foot-pounds. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and check out another video in this series.